NBC News, late, but finally joins the chorus of sane people about the subject of Iraq.
We are all hearing more and more these days about a significant drop in violence and deaths in Iraq.
I'm glad Brian Williams listens to Fox.
Finally.
At least he's starting to pay attention.
When our own Tom Aspel went out in Iraq to report this story, he found there are indeed signs of change.
A few months ago, Ali Hamid could not have sold balloons here on Jadria Street. He might have been kidnapped or killed. A few blocks away, Azhar Habud might have been shot for giving Western-style haircuts in his barber shop.
Here's what's going on. I mean, I know the veterans over at NBC fairly well. I mean, I don't know Aspel personally very well. I've met him once or twice. But he is a veteran war correspondent. He's covered everything all around the world for NBC in all the most dangerous spots. And so here's Tom Aspel out there saying, wow, guess what? You know that stuff Bush was saying about the surge working? He's right.
Back then, explosions were a horrifying part of everyday life. Now, the U.S. military says rocket and mortar attacks in Iraq have dropped sharply in the last few months, from 1,000 in June to fewer than 400 in October. And so have civilian deaths. Last December, 2,172 people died violently in Iraq. In October, the number was 750. Why the sharp drop? The U.S. military says the 30,000 troop surge and deploying them to live in troubled areas has made a critical difference. Baghdad used to be under a strict dusk until dawn curfew. Only soldiers and death squads moved around at night. But with the number of attacks dropping, the curfew has been pushed back to midnight to give people a few hours out in the evening.
Things get a little better, somebody might be able to go out and fix the electric generating plants. One day, somebody might be able to fix the oil pumping system.
This war of lies.
Wouldn't that be nice? War of lies.
This war of lies.
Was that the sportscaster bathtub boy weighing in on things he doesn't know anything about?
This is bad news for him.
I would think this is bad news for him. Number one, his script provider, Media Matters for America, is now attacking his real ultimate boss at NBC, Tim Russert. And now NBC News has said he, Bathtub Boy, the sportscaster, is just wrong. The surge is working. Iraq is getting better.
It is the most solemn and ceremonial of remembrances for our fallen dead and surviving soldiers, dating from the time of our first grim venture into international combat in World War I.
Our first grim venture into international combat. Do I take it that the sportscaster opposed World War I?
I guess.
Were we supposed to negotiate with Hitler? Were we supposed to negotiate with Japan? And just for once and for all, what is a sportscaster doing on NBC News commenting on things he knows nothing about?
Keith Olbermann, the best news show on TV.
Why?
If you're only going to watch one, watch that guy.
She hangs upside down like a fat lesbian vampire bat.
You know, the sportscaster is in the deep end of the pool. His feet don't touch the bottom. He has no idea what he's talking about. Now that NBC News, through its own correspondents in the field, veteran reporters and correspondents who actually have done news before in their life, who haven't spent their time in Bristol, Connecticut, dreaming up new lines for the three-point shot or trying to figure out how to racially slime a guy in halftime highlights.
The Denver Drive having stalled Roscoe Parrish on the punt return. Roscoe's chicken and waffles at its finest.
When are they going to confine him to his sportscasting and tell him these other things are just beyond his depth?
Hate mail. These folks don't like you, John Boy.
This comes from Brett Dale in New Zealand. So Brett Dale watched my word tonight, in which I took on the sportscaster known on this program generally as Bathtub Boy. As Bathtub Boy for a reason. Bathtub Boy has, well, he called him by his real name, but I don't ever say his real name. Bathtub Boy has more integrity as a journalist than the entire cast of Fox News. I guess integrity comes with how you are raised. His parents did a good job. Brett Dale in New Zealand.
I forgot how funny I am.
The problem is, he's never been a journalist, whatever that is. He's never been one. He's never trained as one. He's never reported a story. He's never interviewed somebody who disagreed with him. He's never gone out and stood around in the rain waiting for a story to develop. He's never gone to a war. He's never gone to a war zone. He's never had a beat to cover. He's been a sportscaster.
But John Dean's on once a week, John.
John Dean can come on and bamboozle him.
Okay.
John Dean knows he's not going to face a tough question. John Dean knows a sportscaster, bathtub boy, is going to play T-ball. Let me tee this up, and you hit it, John Dean.
Why, you might ask, does George W. Bush hate the troops?
You might ask that if you were an idiot. Oh, you might ask that if you wanted to prove yourself an idiot.
The presidency of George W. Bush has now devolved into a criminal conspiracy to cover the ass of George W. Bush.
Ooh, why don't you tell that to Brian Williams and Tom Aspel? And why don't you go cover a story with Tom Aspel? He'll leave your sorry rear end out where it can get shot off.
Not your ordinary bloviating talk show host.
You know, I hold a doctorate in this stuff.
He's an extraordinary bloviating talk show host.
I have been doing this since cable news was invented.
John Gibson
I know what you want.
on Fox News Talk.